Just a short background to this discussion I had with monkeyboy. About a week earlier, monkeyboy had a debate with this famous Muslim YouTuber called Hamza Deen. Hamza was arguing that because computer code could only be produced by intelligent minds, analogously, DNA, which is at least as sophisticated as computer code, could analogously only be created by intelligent minds as well. Monkeyboy was rejecting that, and one of the arguments he used was that this God is a disembodied mind and non-biological, and could therefore not be used as an analogy in this case. And personally, I wouldn't argue for God from intelligent design or anything like that. So this is not my argument. I'm not saying it's a good argument. I actually don't think it's a good argument. In my discussion with monkeyboy, I tried to tell him that the relevant feature is not being human or embodied, but being an intentional intelligence. Because unless one can show that embodiment is doing any explanatory work, the disembodied-embodied distinction doesn't seem to be decisive here. Some features I do find to be relevant would be like intelligence and intentionality, because there is a relevant connection between sophisticated features in the world and intelligent agents. At least inductively, it seems to be the case. Also, at least in the beginning of the discussion I had with monkeyboy, my daughter was making a lot of noise, and I'm sorry for that. But here we go. Hey, what's up, monkeyboy? Hey, yeah, I just want to tell you what I think. First of all, that argument is really bad. I don't like that argument of like arguing from intelligence and all that, like basically intelligent design type of arguments. But the reason I believe that your particular objections fail is because when it comes to like the sharpshooter fallacy, it has to do with like adjusting your hypothesis retroactively, right? Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like, when you have a hypothesis and then you're just adjusting it retroactively after seeing the evidence, like you change your hypothesis.
Well, I understand that it applied in the way that I was talking about, that we have a cluster of information where the similarities of the cluster is ones where that similarity is ignored to reach a more general conclusion.
And I think he's not ignoring anything significant, or I think that's the problem. Oh my God, if my daughter lets me. I think that it doesn't fail for the reasons you objected to. I don't think that
That's a non-human
he's
nature.
using embodiment or disembodiment to make the point. The relevant point here, is about intelligence and intentionality. Whether it's like embodied or disembodied is kind of irrelevant to the argument that they're making from design.
Well, all that was mentioned is that it's non-human. But there's obviously
and I don't think
potential reasons, like humans have a biological evolutionary story for their psychology and values, and a disembodied mind wouldn't share that type of causal history. So that induction is relevant, because then it does not license you to say that for the same reasons we would think that a non-human agent, not even non-human, because the stress of the type of agent is so radical. It's like being disembodied is very relevant. Why would I think a disembodied mind would share the same dispositions and values?
But the thing is, like, the relevant feature, I don't think is not like being human or being embodied, but having like intentional states and having intelligence. I think those are the relevant features. Unless embodiment does any. No, but the thing is, embodiment does not do any explanatory work.
But human psychology, humans have a particular psychology. Disembodied minds wouldn't have a human psychology. There's no reason to think they would have a similar psychology.
Yeah, that's a different type of question. I mean, obviously, embodied mind could also have different psychological like states
But the
and
psychology can turn
volition
on
and
the
all that.
human, but the psychology can turn on the, if it turns on the biology and a disembodied mind is non-biological, then for the reasons why humans have the disposition, which is made up of their psychology, which is explained biologically, that wouldn't be present in a disembodied mind.
Yeah, but I don't think that being embodied or disembodied, for that sake, does any like explanatory work here. So I don't think it's a relevant connection. Therefore, like the analogy you gave of like the boat and or
How
what
would
was
it
it,
not be
car?
a relevant word?
Huh?
Look, we have background information that the psychology of humans is explained biologically. A disembodied mind is non-biological. So for the reasons human we have to think of humans that they would create code, we don't have of disembodied minds. So that is
But
relevant.
again, I, I don't think that, I mean, specifically being embodied or disembodied makes any difference here. Psychology does, I agree with you, psychology does, but not being embodied or disembodied. That particular point
I keep making
is irrelevant.
The point I keep making is that the psychology is explained biologically, and it's to be disembodied is to lose the property of being biological. So if the psychology of humans has a biological explanation, then the reasons we might think humans tends towards this, we couldn't say we have for a disembodied mind.
Yeah, I mean, for example, okay, consider like a AI. An AI is not a biological system, right? But we would still make an inference to AI being intelligent by inference to human intelligence, right? By similarities, even though it's not biological. So I don't think that particular point makes any difference. I mean, let me give you an analogy. Suppose like this is a thought experiment I came up with. Like suppose like we find a fossilized nest on an alien planet, okay? Like in a cave or something. It's very sophisticated and but then someone objects, like someone like you, and says, "Oh, but there's no feathers here. Like we don't find any feathers, so we have no reason to expect like any, I don't know, any creature to have done it." But the thing is, having feathers is not like a necessary condition. It's just an incidental one on inductively to like birds on Earth. So that's the type of objection you're making. You're reasoning from like
No, that
human
obviously is.
biology.
Yeah, but you understand that the explanations for the fact humans explain code is explained by their psychology. Their psychology is explained by their biology. Non-disembodied
I
minds
don't
don't
think
have a
it's
biology.
necessarily by the psycho. I think the relevant thing here is intelligence and intentionality. Psychology
An
may be a
intelligent
secondary
being,
feature.
well,
Like
no,
if
because
you find code,
biology.
like
I mean, the
if you
psychology is
find
about the
something.
behaviors of an age. An agent can have a lot of knowledge and be highly intelligent and act literally in any possible way. So how an agent is disposed to acting with
Sorry,
respect to their intelligence is relevant.
I, I got a damn restriction. But the thing is, I mean, imagine you find something that obviously done by some intelligent agent. I mean, the relevant feature here would be like the patterns that you find, like the structure of the thing that you find. It wouldn't be like necessarily what the psychology of that intelligent agent is. I mean, that doesn't do any explanatory work. It's the intelligence and intentionality that explains the fact of the structure, like being intricate and very like sophisticated.
Intentionality it's a feature of psychological makeup. Intentions are
I
a
agree.
type of dispositions. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
I
is.
agree. So some
And you say that
psychology
psychology
is
doesn't matter.
relevant.
What
Other
did you just say?
psychological,
Psychology doesn't matter, and then you said that intentions matter, which intentions are psychological.
No, I mean, the broader point I'm making is about embodiment and disembodiment, that being irrelevant. That's the broader point I'm making. That it doesn't matter whether that intelligence is embodied or disembodied. That's irrelevant to the point. It doesn't do any explanatory work. Therefore, we can ignore
That's just
that.
false. We lose our ability to say for the reasons we would think of humans, we would think of these minds. If we know the explanation for human minds as to why they have the psychology, interests, dispositions in creating code, and that feature is essentially not found in this type of mind, then we couldn't say for the reasons of humans the same reasons of a disembodied mind, because necessarily they lose that type of that history.
But are you saying that it's not an incidental feature, that it's a necessary condition for like sophistication, intelligence, and I guess patterns? You know, like, because the argument that the guy was making, it was from DNA, right? DNA is similar to code, and we know that code is done by some intelligent agent. Therefore, we could infer that DNA is like generated by a mind, by intelligence, right? And whether that intelligence is embodied or disembodied doesn't do any explanatory work. Are you saying it does?
Repeating yourself.
If yes, then what?
I've already told you. Yeah, I've already told you. Their explanation as to why they're disposed to creating code, humans, is explained biologically. Disembodied minds lose that property. They just fundamentally lack the property of being biological. So,
But are you
for
saying
the
that
reasons
if
humans, we cannot say
so,
of
so for
them.
example, an AI or a computer that is not biological, are you saying that we couldn't make an inference to AI creating patterns and code and stuff like that just because they're not biological?
Made by humans, then if it's made by humans, then the biases of humans would result in the AI working similar to them. If it's designed for humans, AI, if humans design AI, they're going to make it cognitively similar. It's going to have like a type of quasi-cognition, or maybe you want to talk like a
I mean, I
computation
could draw
that operates similar to their own minds.
I mean, I could make the analogy more fitting for Michael. I could just say like a silicon-based intelligence developing on an alien planet, for example. Like, it's not biological, but we would still, the relevant features are still intelligence and intentionality, not the substrate, not whether like it's biological.
There's no reasons to think they would have similar intentions or dispositions. And if that's true,
So are you saying
we wouldn't
that?
have reasons to think that they would make code.
So are you saying that we couldn't infer like silicon-based intelligence to be the source of some intricate pattern that we find on an alien planet?
Sorry, what?
Like, imagine we found some intricate, sophisticated structure on an alien planet. Are you saying that we couldn't infer like silicon-based intelligence to be the source of that? Or are you saying we have to infer that it's biological? Because you're taking biology to be a relevant feature.
We wouldn't have an inference to those things are designed.
But why does biology in itself matter for intelligence? Are you saying that it's a necessary condition for intelligence to be biological?
No, what do you not? The biology explains the psychology. So the reasons humans have this psychology is for the reasons of their biology. If there is no biology in disembodied minds, that causal history for their psychology is not found, then there's not a reason to suspect that they would share. The reasons why we think humans do that is because they share a causal history. If there's a completely sui generis disembodied mind that in principle cannot share the causal history explaining their psychology, intentions, and dispositions, then we wouldn't have reasons to think if they existed, they would do similar things to humans merely because they're intelligent.
You're taking like all psychological features to be relevant or just some? If some, then which ones? I'm saying yes, intelligence and intentionality would be those features, but not embodiment per se.
What do you? Okay, maybe we should go step by step through this because I don't know where you're struggling. So, do you understand that disembodied minds are in principle non-biological?
Yes.
Do you understand that the causal history for human psychology is biological, is evolutionary?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if these organisms, if a disembodied mind existed, we wouldn't have reasons to think that the world shaped it to have similar psychology.
Um, yeah, not necessarily similar cycle. Yeah. Maybe some features
So
I would
if they
expect,
existed,
other
okay, so
features
you
I
just
would not
admitted,
expect.
yeah, so if they existed, you wouldn't have reasons to think they would do similar things to humans.
Again, some features I would expect, some things I would expect, other things I would not.
What would you expect?
Yeah, I would expect like minds to be having intentionality, for example. That's one feature I would expect, because that seems to be a necessary feature of minds. I may
You were
also
talking
include
about
actually.
what they would do. Well, that's not an essential feature of mind. That's an essential feature of agents. But yeah, so we're not even saying they're agents either. It's just a disembodied. Yeah, we can assume they're an agent. We can even talk more specifically about an agent. We know humans are agents. Why would we even think that if there's a disembodied mind, it would be an agent, anyways? It could just be a
Because
mind and
it's a
not have
mind.
rational faculties.
I mean, because it's a mind, right? I mean,
Faculties.
whether it's like
Most
biological,
minds in our
non-biological.
background are non-agents, but most organisms in our background are not agents. I mean,
I
and even then,
mean,
again,
yeah,
this
but we may have difference of opinion about that, but that's not really relevant. The relevant part here is, I mean, so, if we found some, because their whole argument, the argument is that because uh, code is similar to DNA, and we know that code is done by intelligent agents with intentional states, then we could infer that DNA is possibly made by a non-human mind, right? And they would say it's God's mind, like, and a disembodied mind, right? But the
but
question is here:
how do you
what are the
have
relevant
any reason?
features that they're appealing
How do
to?
you?
The relevant features of minds that they're appealing to is intelligence and intentionality. It's not biology.
I've already told you the relevance of the biology, which is the fact that we lose the ability to say that we have any reasons to think they would have similar dispositions.
So, okay, so you're saying that an alien developing on another planet, like if it was of another substrate, like silicon based, we couldn't infer or expect any features of those alien creatures?
I don't see what would be the. I'm not. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. You're asking me
I mean,
if we
could we
couldn't.
infer
I'm
that
not
they're
saying something like we
intelligent?
couldn't make. Well, given that information, I don't know. There's not any reasons to think they would do anything similar to humans.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
mistaken about
particular,
that.
we're not talking
I'm
about
failing to see
specific
why.
behavior. We're not talking about like specific behavior and specific objects they would create, like per se. We're just talking generally about like intelligence and intentionality, um,
Yeah,
like what it
why would I
takes
have
to
any
be
reason?
an
But why
agent.
would I have any reason to think? But why would I? I mean, yeah, there's a. So we can assume it's even an agent because there's even a further reason of why you even think it's an agent. But assuming it were even an agent, why would I think it would have similar interests or dispositions?
You
For
don't
what
need to
reasons
infer
would
that.
could we say that?
Yeah,
Then we
but
wouldn't
I don't think.
expect. Then wait. If that's true, then you couldn't expect on the hypothesis they exist that they would create code. So seeing code is not an update for the hypothesis.
I agree. I mean, you couldn't really make that point, but you couldn't make the
That
point
was the
you
whole
made
point I was
either.
making.
No, your point
That was
was
the whole
that
point I was making.
because it is disembodied, it could not have been the source of anything, right? Like code and stuff. But the thing
I
is,
did
they're
not
not
say that.
appealing. I mean, didn't you say that he couldn't infer like intelligence, like a disembodied intelligence? He couldn't do that because all the intelligence we know of are
All I'm saying,
biological.
I'm saying that our information about a specific biological organism, specifically humans, do not give us reasons to think a non-biological disembodied mind is the product of it. Because it's even further than being non-biological. It's that it's entirely disembodied. But even just being non biological, like even talking about silicone based, like transformers, if we have information that explains the psychology of humans, and the psychology of humans explains why humans tend towards creating code, that's why it's in virtue of that they create that thing. These organisms do not have that. Then we couldn't say that there's any reason to think they would do the same, because they fail to have the type of relevant history that's constitutive of our motivations to think that of them.
But I don't think the particulars matter, because if it is intelligent and it has intentional states, then it would create something that would be like sophisticated, that would be like have a sophisticated pattern such that we would recognize it to be done by an intelligence.
Why would you think that?
What do you mean? Why would you think that? I mean, if we find something like on an alien planet
An
that is very
intelligent organism could
sophisticated.
just choose not to create anything.
Yeah, but there are some. No, but it's an abductive case they're making. Like they're arguing from some evidence, some fact that we find in the world. Like they're talking about DNA in this particular case. But the broader point being that if you found
Giving
some
an inductive
structure in the
inference.
world, huh?
Hamza was giving an inductive inference.
He wasn't making an abductive case,
He
like
was saying
from.
all he was saying all, well, he said he was giving an IBE and he didn't understand IBE, but he purported to give an IBE, and then he started by saying what we know about code is the product of all is always a product of human minds. So we have reasons to think minds, ignoring the similar property of being human, minds more generally are, are likely to create code. We have code found in biology, therefore it's created by a mind. He was making an
Yeah,
inductive inference.
yeah, but if we would like steel man his point, we would say that the relevant features of mind here is intelligence and intentionality, not all features of mind, right? And so it's particular features. And if we're arguing from a mind that we know of to another type of mind, then we could appeal to some features that we would take to be necessary for minds. So we could argue in that case for minds being the source.
And what reason would that be?
Yeah, because I mean, all minds by definition have like intentionality, and they have volition. They have
Well, this is again
what
just not
more?
true.
Intelligence usually. Hmm?
This is again confusing minds with agents.
Yeah, but agents, I mean, by definition, have minds, right? You wouldn't have a
No,
non-mind based
well, that's
agent.
trivial. Agents are a subset of mind, but the point is
Yeah,
you can be a
exactly.
mind and have no intentions.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But again, it's an abductive case. But maybe it will help to go back to your example. Could you give it again about like different vehicles and red? Can you just
Yeah,
remind me what you?
all known cars are red, so I have reason to think all vehicles are red. Planes are a type of vehicle, therefore I have reasons to think if I come across a plane, it's going to be red.
Okay. The problem here is being red is an incidental feature of some vehicles. So obviously we couldn't make that inference to like other vehicles also being red. But there are features of vehicles that we could, like for example, it has engines, for example. All vehicles have engines, let's say that. If you take engines to be the relevant like thing here, then you could make an inference to other types of vehicles also having engines, right? So I agree with you. The red thing is just incidental. It's not a necessary condition for being a vehicle. So yeah, for that reason, I don't think your objection is relevant.
I don't know
in
what
this case,
essential and accidental features matter.
I mean, obviously, to be a vehicle is not to be red, right? It's incidental. It's not a relevant feature of being a vehicle, obviously,
How
right?
does that?
But there
What
are
does that matter?
features. Because other features are relevant to being a vehicle, namely that they move, they can transport things, they have engines. So if you use those relevant features, then you could make inference to other types of vehicles having similar properties. And that is the thing I think Hamza and other people are doing. Again, I don't agree with their argument. I would never make that argument. But I'm just saying, the relevant features to them is intelligence and intentionality. So therefore, they do make that inference from human minds to other minds. Also, like using those relevant features, that is, those necessary conditions of being minds. And whether it's embodied or disembodied, I think is irrelevant. It doesn't do any explanatory work. So I don't think that you could object, raise that objection about embodiment and disembodiment for that reason.
I don't think you're understanding my point, and I don't even understand if you're even making a point, to be honest. I don't know
Yeah, I
what you're
mean,
not under. It's very obvious that you lose reasons to say that they're disposed to creating code if the explanation for the disposition's evolutionary, and these organisms or this form of life in principle doesn't have that story.
yeah, but code, let's say we find code on an alien planet, like some code, some structure that is obviously done by, like, not through some random process, okay? Then I think it is, it wouldn't be wrong to make an inference to intelligence there and intentionality. Even though we don't know whether it's biological, we don't know anything about its history, we could make inference to minds.
But what would be that inference?
Yeah, that it is a mind that produced that sophisticated structure. That would be the inference.
That's the claim. I'm asking what's the inference?
Yeah, the inference is that random structures, sophisticated structures cannot be produced through some random process.
Okay, random. Well, I mean, first, it is just possible. So, I mean, obviously, but random is not contrasted with intentional, because random means unexplained.
Yeah, I mean, just
So there can
imagine
be,
something that is very like sophisticated. Some machine that we find on an alien planet, and there's no life to be found there on that planet. Obviously, we could
I'm trying to
infer
understand,
intelligence.
but I'm not, okay, so then what is that inference, though? So we have the proposition that it's a result of intelligence, and what would be that argument for that?
Yeah, that it is very sophisticated, that it's not produced through some natural process, that it's produced by intentional and intelligent mind.
No, but that's just the claim. I'm asking you, how do you get to that?
I mean, yeah, we could make an inductive case then and say every sophisticated structure we find on Earth, like computers, like buildings, code, computer code for that matter, are produced by intentional and intelligent minds. So we could make an inductive inference.
To a non-human mind, a disembodied
Yes.
mind. Okay, so how do you get from
Not necessarily
human
disembodied.
minds?
not necessarily disembodied. I mean, just some alien mind, like whether it's
But that's what's being talked about
biological.
in context of theism. But we can talk about an. But the thing is, if you're talking about an alien, that's fundamentally different. You might think that there's going to be, even if it has a type of separate causal avenue, that the evolutionary processes are still adjacent. So there's still some reasons to think that there might be similar intentions. We're talking about a being that doesn't have any evolutionary story behind their
No,
dispositions.
but the thing is, we don't
It's a
know.
brute fact they have this set of dispositions.
Yeah, but the thing
I
is,
mean,
we
you
don't
can
know.
think a disembodied mind has a causal explanation behind its psychology, intentions, values, right? But why
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
you
we
think
don't know
that?
anything about this alien mind, right? That produced this structure on this alien planet. Like, we don't know anything about its history. It could very well be disembodied mind. Like, we can't make any inference about its nature, but we could make inference about some features of its mind, namely that it is intelligent, that it has intentions. Um, yeah, from that fact,
Okay.
from that
I
evidence.
mean, even that's assuming a lot, but how do we get from that to it's likely to create that thing?
Um, but 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 remember, we have this evidence, we have this sophisticated this machine on this alien planet,
Mm-hmm.
and we're inferring that because, like, every sophisticated structure on Earth that we know of are produced by some mind that is intelligent and intentional. So we make that inference to this alien. So those are the relevant psychological features that we're inferring. Other features about, like, it's like I don't know, some other features of its psychology, like its dispositions, for example, what it likes, what it dislikes, and how it reproduces. I mean, those kind of things are irrelevant there. It doesn't do any explanatory work.
Yeah, I'm just not hearing the inference.
Inference to what?
There's an infinite set of configurations you can have, and another organism that would have to have a different um, evolutionary avenue. Why is it expected, even then, that they would have similar dispositions?
Not all dispositions. I'm just I'm singling out
Yeah,
relevant
sure, the relevant
features.
disposition, and that's the question. Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, and we know those features are
Why would you
relevant
think they would
because
have the disposition to do that?
because we I mean, it's already, like, found in the world, like, it is instantiated. We this machine exists on this alien planet, so it obviously created it. Whether maybe it wasn't even
That's saying it's
intentional for it.
obvious is not the art. I'm trying to understand the argument, and you're saying it's obvious.
What I'm saying, yeah, I mean, the machine being present or existing is obvious, right? And from that we could infer intelligence and intentionality.
I'm asking you, how do
um,
you? But I'm asking for that inference.
yeah,
You
I
keep
told you
saying
it's
you
an
can make that
inductive
inference. What
inference.
is it? Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
an
what is
inductive
the
inference.
inference? Okay, what is the inference?
I mean, I told you, I mean, because all sophisticated structures on Earth are produced by intelligent and intentional minds, therefore this sophisticated structure is also probably produced by an intelligent and
Non-earthly,
intentional mind.
non-human minds. Yeah, how do you make that
Yeah.
inference? Yeah, how do you make that
Uh,
inference though?
you don't think you don't think that would be a valid inductive inference?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Show to me how it is.
I mean, what is an induction? I mean, you look at relevant features that are, like, repeating, and you make an inductive case to something similar by appealing to those same features. That's what you do in an induction.
Okay, so how do you get from? So this doesn't. I know what induction is. I mean, this isn't answering the question. Why should I be more confident that that non-earthly machinery is explained by a non-human mind, given earthly machinery is created by human minds? I don't get it.
Because I mean, the other option would be like it's produced through some natural process, and we know that some um,
And why would I
sophisticated
think that that's
machines
less
cannot.
likely than its negation?
I mean, because of what we know, like here on Earth, like what we know about machines and sophisticated structures on Earth.
The odds
Um,
there's another evolutionary story where that evolutionary story happens to bring life that is agents and happens to be agents with similar enough characteristics where they could produce that they have the interest to create machinery. They're intelligence enough, and they have the feasibility to produce that. You think that and like I don't understand this connection at all. I really just don't see it. You're gonna need to spell it out to me because I don't see how that provides you any reason to think that.
um, I mean, I think we would just go in circles at this point. Yeah, so I already explained
But
why I
if
think
they
it's
just if you understand the evolutionary stories germane to explicating why they have those features, they don't have that same evolutionary story, then I don't understand. It's just fairly obvious we lose the motivations to think they would have similar features. If they don't have similar features, then it's just not expected on the hypothesis
some.
they
Yeah,
produce those types of feats or
I mean,
artifacts.
some similar features we could infer because of what they produce. Like if they produce sophisticated machinery, then we could like
But that's
infer
just
some
assume.
features.
But you're just assuming they produce machinery. We're trying to
No, no,
reason
I'm
to the
saying,
characteristics of those types of non-human agents.
yeah, but remember the thought experiment. So we find this structure, this machine on an alien planet. That's the evidence that we're arguing from.
Where we're disputing that's evidence, yeah, that's the datum at least, sure. And the question is, given that datum and our background information about human minds, why are we to be confident to any degree that they're more likely to do that than not? And if we understand we have background information explaining the characteristics of humans, those beings do not have that same story. Then if it turns on a story we know they don't possess, then we just lose reasons to think they would have those similar features.
I don't know why the evolutionary story is relevant here.
Because it
I mean,
explains their behaviors, and their behaviors is what allows for us to expect them to produce those artifacts.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, obviously,
Like
it's
if
something.
we like inversely, if we know they had the disposition to be destructive and not creative, then it's an evidence straightforwardly against them. So of course their psychology is relevant, and if we know they have a causal history that inclines them to being destructive, then the fact there's that complex structure is evidence against those types of beings. So of course their psychology and the story behind it is relevant. It turns on whether or not that's any evidence for those types of organisms for
Yeah,
life
but I mean,
generally.
even if they were destructive, and even if the like this machinery that we find on this planet was not even intended, like they didn't even intend it to be created, but somehow like they happen to do it like as a byproduct of something. It's still evidence for intelligence because it could not be produced naturally. It's a very sophisticated machinery that is not produced
Well, it
like
couldn't. It's just
naturally.
I don't even mean by couldn't. If you're just saying that it's more likely designed than not, then I mean that's the whole contention. I mean I just don't accept that.
Um, and you don't think it would be relevant to make an inductive case that all sophisticated machinery on Earth is produced by minds, intelligent minds. Therefore,
No,
this
I
one is
think we
also.
have background information. There's more background information that things are complex than there being a corresponding background of designers for that. What we have is reason. Look, there's like a bunch of things found in space that are very complex. Maybe planets themselves are crazy complex. right? How star systems work, their whole orbital system, the gravity in which they work in a orderly, uniform way or whatever. And I have background that
Mhm.
those things are not designed, or I don't have background information. So just the number of things, I have reasons to think particular things are designed, and I know the reasons behind them because I have background information. Humans designed them. There's whole schools dedicated to them. Why would I think
I don't think that's the
something in a
only
different?
reason. Because if something, some machinery, some sophisticated structure could not be produced by inanimate processes, then I think that is a strong case for the induction I'm making.
Why
Imagine
couldn't?
like a
Okay, but now you're saying it
computer.
couldn't,
A
and
computer,
like what?
a computer
What
could never
modality
be
could it not?
um, um, metaphysical, I would say, in this case.
Oh, I have no clue what that means.
Okay, just take like imagine we found. Let's take the case of like computers here on Earth. Like we know computers could not be produced through some inanimate process in nature, like through natural laws
If you
and
just mean the likelihood a computer is designed on Earth, given our background information of humans designing computers, I would agree. If you just mean like epistemic possibility, that's just inconsistent with our background knowledge.
I
Yeah,
don't think
but when
background
we're not,
knowledge again is relevant here. I mean, this particular background knowledge of it being humans and the history of computers and all that. I'm just saying there are some
what?
structures, some machinery that could not be produced by inanimate by inanimate processes of nature. Like it couldn't be like metaphysically, it's not possible. It must be produced by some
I just don't know
intelligent
what that means.
agent. Why don't you? I mean, again, imagine we find something computer-like on an alien planet that could obviously not be produced by inanimate processes of nature. So it's irrelevant whether like we know the history of this structure, this thing. It's irrelevant because we know that it couldn't be produced naturally. By naturally, I
Why
mean like
couldn't it?
through inanimate processes of nature, not obviously through life.
Why couldn't it?
uh, because because it's like vastly improbable for it to happen. Like like a computer could never be produced by some natural process. It's too
Yeah, but that's the whole
sophisticated.
dispute. The whole point is that human DNA is more complex than computers. Human DNA is everywhere. So if we just start with indifference, then obviously we have background information of a bunch of natural beings that are more complex than computers, which we wouldn't have reasons a priori to think that they're designed.
Yeah, but I said inanimate. That's the whole thing. Like some structures, you need life
Yeah, but
to
abiogenesis
produce.
stories don't involve animate beings.
No, no, um, I'm talking about structure. I'm talking about objects, some structures cannot be produced without intelligence, like intentional intelligence. An example is a computer. Some other example
Yeah,
could be
but if you
your
just
mobile
mean
phone.
couldn't is highly unlikely,
No, it's
of course that turns on our
metaphysically
background information.
impossible. It's
Okay,
metaphysically
I don't know what
impossible
that
for it.
means.
Yeah, inanimate
I have no clue what that
processes
means.
could not produce an iPhone. It's impossible metaphysically.
Yeah, but I don't know
Inanimate.
what metaphysical impossibility means.
It just means that given the laws of nature and what we know about them, without life being present, iPhones could not be produced through natural processes, inanimate natural
That just sounds
processes.
like nomological modality. Yeah, I mean, given my understanding of the laws of physics, it in no way precludes computers coming about by natural processes. I mean, we have background information, things more complex like humans come about by natural processes. Then there's
Yeah, but
a dispute whether or not God makes those natural
Yeah,
conditions.
but it's not like,
So
yeah, it's not an appeal to all types of complexity. It's to some specific types of complexity.
yeah, but those
Like,
specific types of complexity, we also have reasons to think they're only produced by human agents. So how are you getting to
yeah, but
like
I'm
how
saying that
you're like
even if we
stressing
found,
what we have reasons to think to entirely different types of beings?
yeah, but I'm saying that like being human in this case is irrelevant because again, if we found something iPhone-like this very complicated on an alien planet, we couldn't. I mean, obviously, it's not produced by humans, but we would make the inference that it is produced by some
By
intelligence.
obvious, you
Uh,
just mean you have the intuition that that's not right.
No, I think it's more than an intuition. Again, I don't think it's possible through the processes of nature to produce iPhones. You need intelligence and intentionality. Some features of the world, some machinery, some structure, are not made by through natural processes. It's impossible. Like nomologically, it's impossible. iPhones, for example, it's impossible
What?
for it to come
That's
about through natural
how is it
process, inanimate
nomologically
natural processes.
impossible?
Yeah.
What law of okay, so in what way okay, so is there like a set of like natural laws or forces it's violating or something? What are you talking about?
No, it doesn't violate. No, it doesn't violate any force, but it
How's it
wouldn't
what is
like.
it what are you talking about? It's physically impossible. Nomologically impossible.
Yeah, if it, yeah, like through inanimate processes, some machines could not come about. Like it's impossible.
It's not inconsistent with the known laws of physics that complex uh like things
Yeah,
are
but it's not
produced by
all
non-intelligent
complexity.
beings.
It's yeah, but it's not an appeal to all types of complexity. Obviously, some complexity is created through inanimate processes of nature, but others are obviously not, like iPhones.
Yeah, but again, that just goes back to we have reasons to think humans, strictly speaking, are the ones behind those types of artifacts.
Yeah, but I'm saying even if we like on an alien planet, let's take that case again. If you find something iPhone-like on an alien planet, would you infer intelligence and intentionality, or would you say that it's more likely that it was produced through some inanimate natural process? Which one do you think you would go with?
I don't think there's an inference to thinking that it's more likely by intentionality.
At least, what about intelligence?
Yeah, I wouldn't have reason to think that.
Are you serious? So like,
Hmm.
if we found some iPhone-like machine on an alien planet, there's no life there anymore. Wouldn't you infer intelligence?
No,
So you would think that it's through some natural process that it came about, some inanimate natural
I
process.
can be indifferent to explanation, right? But the point just is we don't have reason. There's what are the reasons to think it would be made by a non-human agent?
Because it's like the way it is structured, like an iPhone, is something that doesn't come about through natural processing. You need intelligence to put all
But we
those
also
parts
don't
together.
have we don't have background information. Those are made by not by agents, but we also don't have reasons to think they're brought about by non-human agents either. So it's just a double-edged sword. Like, okay, yeah, I would agree. We don't have background information of those types of configurations being a product of the mere natural, which even that's contentious because you can argue like that's the whole point they've been making in those teleological arguments is that we are similar to things like iPhones, our biologies, our codes are vastly similar. So it might even be we have independent reasons to think if we don't have starting reasons to think those things, then we don't have reasons to think there that those of course it's like yeah, I mean it's not implausible to think those are produced by strictly natural means.
Yeah. Remember how we like got into all of this? I'm saying that some features that you're like objecting to is irrelevant to the argument that Hamza guy was making. One of them being embodiment, disembodiment, and biology. That's how we got into all of this, right? To just step back. Um, are you still saying that those features are relevant to the debate?
Yeah, of course they're
Okay.
relevant.
Okay, what about
Like
the
so
example?
obviously relevant. What are you talking? How would that not be relevant?
I mean, go back to the example you gave of like vehicles, and like if you have a red car and you infer that because boats or airplanes are also vehicles, they're also red. I mean, being red is an incidental feature of being a vehicle, right? It's not a necessary condition for being a vehicle. So it's an irrelevant feature that you're appealing to in this case. That's why it's like disanalogous, I think. If you would instead like point to some relevant
What are you
features of being a
talking?
vehicle, like
Accidental essential features don't matter to the induction. What matters is if we knew that the reason every car we see is red is because there's like a car wash that cars must go through that turns them red, and we don't have that for planes, then we are not licensed to say for the same reasons that they are vehicles that they're red. If we know that it's an exclusively washing machine that, or what's it called, car wash that makes the cars red, then we couldn't say that of planes if we don't have reasons to think planes also have a type of plane washing thing. If we
yeah,
know
but
that their psychology is explained evolutionarily, these things in principle don't have an evolution, then we don't have reasons to think they also have the relevant dispositions that would rationalize the behaviors to produce these types of artifacts, which would be some update for
yeah,
the
I think
hypothesis.
again, I think that that's the point in contention, right? Is it relevant? Is it not relevant? I think we're disagreeing on that. I mean, to me,
How is it
some
not
features
relevant
of
when it literally explains why they do it? What do you? How is that not relevant? The reason we expect it is because of their psychology, which has an evolutionary explanation, which they wouldn't have.
yeah, yeah, but you're
So,
saying
for
that
what
in this
reasons would
case,
we think they would have similar psychology?
no, but you're
They don't
saying
share
that.
the causal history. What would explain? What would it? What literally? What could give you reasons to think they would have a similar psychology?
I mean, again, I'm not appealing to all features of their psychology, but to some relevant features like intelligence and intentionality. I think those could be inferred from sophisticated structures, and you disagree. I don't think there's much more to
Those
say about it.
by psycho
Maybe,
by that's not even psycholo. I'm asking you, why would you think they have the inclination to create code? That's what I'm asking. Why would you think that?
yeah, but the thing is, we're not arguing from psychology to some evidence. We're arguing from evidence to, you could say, psychology. So it's the other way around. So
Evidence.
we find a
It's
feature.
only evidence. It's only evidence if the hypothesis expects it. You'd need independent reasons to think if these beings existed that they're inclined to do that. When you have datum of that, then you update. So you're like working backwards.
I mean, no, I don't think so. Like, even if we inferred it from, like what we expect from
The
minds,
reason
I
I
think we
say
would
when the
explain.
floor is wet that's evidence that it rained is because I have background information. The rain causes the floor to be wet. So when the floor is wet, the causal history behind the floor being wet, that being one of rain as a potential explanation, offers me motivations. Same
I
way
agree,
in
and that's a
the
relevant
fact that
feature.
if I find another human, the reason I'm inclined to thinking they're going to do this same relevant things as me is because they share an evolutionary history.
Yeah, yeah. Again, some features are relevant. I agree with you. So some features are, some features are not. Uh, and I guess we're disagreeing on which features are relevant here, and which features we could infer from some given evidence. I'm saying that from a sophisticated structure, and they would say DNA is such a structure, I would say we could infer intelligence and intentionality, and you, I guess, are saying no, we couldn't. And maybe it's because we have different, uh, yeah, different.
Do you think
Yeah.
maybe we could get you to write it out like deductively? Maybe that would help. If you could do that, then that would be like amazing. But yeah, it's just unseen. I mean, it doesn't even seem you're giving any like. I don't even understand if you're giving any like. I don't hear any kickback against
Okay, could I
the
spell
points
out
I'm
like
making.
very shortly? My argument is this: like, there are some features of minds that are relevant to some evidences provided. So if the evidence that they provide is a sophisticated machinery, something that could not be produced by some inanimate process, then I think that it is relevant, or they could make the inductive case.
You couldn't.
Huh?
Like I don't grant you that. I don't even know what that means because you swapped from you said metaphysical to epistemic to nomological. I don't even know what model you like. Just shift like
No, I said
between modalities.
metaphysical
I
from
don't
the
know what you're
beginning. No, I said metaphysical when you asked me.
Yeah, but then you said that it violates physical laws, and then you said later that it's just inconsistent with what we know about those things that they're produced by non-minds. So you've shifted between three modalities.
Yeah, but I didn't shift.
I
I
mean,
didn't
it's
shift
qualitative
modalities.
analysis. Well,
I didn't shift modalities. But the point is this, that some features of mind are relevant for some arguments. Other features are not. You say that it is relevant, that it is biological to appeal to like embodiment. You think that's a relevant appeal. I'm saying it's not. I'm saying the relevant appeal here is intelligence and intentionality. Those particular features, whether it's embodied or disembodied, is irrelevant in this case for this particular argument. That's what we disagree on.
Oh my god. Okay.
That's the point of disagreement.
Intelligence is just cognitive, and then intentions are just you're just saying they just have dispositions, but the question is why would they have dispositions akin to ours? And I've explained why we would be dubious of that, because the explanation known for why we share similarities and dispositions is ones that in principle is not had of the agent in question. So we in principle,
and you think biology is relevant here.
use reason.
Yeah, and you think that
Because
appealing to biology here is relevant.
Biological. Yeah, it's because the psychology has a biological story for it.
Yeah, but what about my counterexample of this thought experiment of this alien planet? Like, we wouldn't have any reason to expect biology there, but we would expect intelligence and intentionality, because those are the relevant features, not the substrate and history and evolutionary history. I don't think that's relevant. Like, if we found some sophisticated structure, we wouldn't argue about like, oh, what's their like psychology, what's the evolutionary. So we may do that, but the relevant features that we would infer would be that whoever created this structure is intelligent and have intentional states. Even if we couldn't infer anything about its evolutionary history, we would still infer those two features of minds.
Yeah, but
that's why I think biological, non-biological is irrelevant here.
Those facts give you no reason to expect the data.
Sorry, could you repeat what?
Having intentions and being intelligent gives you no reason to expect the data.
Why not? I told you why it's relevant, because inanimate processes could not produce it.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what that means, nor was there an argument for that, but further, I don't know what that means, but whether or not it couldn't have been, well, you're just saying, well, now you're just, okay, so you're just saying it couldn't have been by non-intelligence. If that, so yeah. You're not even arguing anything inductive, you're just saying it's a metaphysical impossibility otherwise.
Yes, some structure, is like, yeah, it wouldn't.
That's just
it couldn't
a completely
be
different inference. We're talking about empirical generalization. We're talking inductive, and then you're talking about
but wait. You asked me. No, you asked me to give an argument for the inductive inference that I was making. Right. That's why I.
That's not an inductive inference. Inductive inferences are statistical generalizations given background information.
But appealing to intelligence and intentionality would be inductive. No, but you're confusing things now. Listen, I made an inductive inference to what? To intelligence and intentionality. That was the inductive inference, because I was making an inductive inference from minds creating on Earth to minds creating sophisticated structures on alien planets. That was the inductive inference. But then you asked me to give an argument for that, like if we found some sophisticated structure, why we would expect intelligence. And that's when I gave when I talked about modality and it being like metaphysically or let's say nomologically, to be even more certain that it could not be produced.
Yeah, this is just not going to go anywhere. I think we're just going in circles. But
yeah, maybe we have different
intuitions
on this.
I would agree. All I'm hearing is maybe an intuition. I mean, I'm not hearing an argument. Maybe we can sometime formalize if you have one.
I think that the point of like the most specific point of contention here is what is a sophisticated structure and what gives us reason to expect a sophisticated structure to only be able to be produced by intelligence. I'm saying there are such features and you are saying you have no reason to expect that. And I think that's the intuition that's different between us. To me, if we found something
like that Hamza was using an enumerative, and it seems like you're instead. Well, now it's not even induction, but there was like a Bayesian approach from the onset of the conversation. Now you're talking about this metaphysical necessity stuff. I don't know why we got into this territory.
No, but the metaphysical necessity was just to strengthen the induction. It was only to strengthen the induction.
It's not. Then that's not saying it's a general. We have general reasons. You're just saying it's in principle. It's like impossible otherwise.
Yeah, specifically about some sophisticated machinery, yes, like an iPhone. I don't think that's possible to be created like through some inanimate process of nature. I don't think it's possible. No, and I think that's where our intuitions differ, I guess. Maybe it would be able.
I mean, I don't even know what that sense of impossibility means there.
So you think it's possible that an iPhone could be produced through some inanimate process?
No. I don't know what metaphysical modality is. I don't understand metaphysical necessity talk or possibility.
Okay, then forget that. Just say, just take this case. We find this machinery, this iPhone, like iPhone-like type of machinery on some alien planet. What would you infer? Would you infer some intelligence behind it, or would you infer it being created or produced through some natural inanimate process?
I don't know. I don't think there's a good inference to an agent. Maybe my priors are higher otherwise. I'm not sure. Probably, I would probably say it's false to say that there's an intelligence.
So you wouldn't infer intelligence if you find
I might be indifferent. No, I definitely agree. I wouldn't infer that. I've been saying that the entire time. What I would infer, whether I would make any inference, is a separate question. I mean, even then, the type of hypothetical you're talking about is like kind of too underdeveloped. But in any case, yeah, let's just say I would be indifferent to what I would infer. I mean, I don't think there's an inference to there's an
I think that's where our intuitions like go apart. Definitely, because to me it's obvious, to you it's not. I would obviously infer intelligence, you would not, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we could get a deductive argument for how exactly we're arriving to the posterior of it being designed as greater, given our information of humans.
Yeah, let's save that for another day. I need to go and take care of my daughter. The only reason I opened this live was to talk to you about this particular issue. It was really fun. Take care, man.
All right, well, peace out.